Back when Baylor played Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl, Neal McCready was somebody that we got to know discussing that game, but also Ole Miss even after that. And he joins us on 365 Sports. Neal, what a busy time. Ole Miss is rolling in the transfer portal, recruiting elsewhere. We're going to get to Spencer Sanders in a moment. I just saw the note. Lane Kiffin now gets himself a contract extension. It's about as good as it can get right now for them.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, there's kind of only one place they can go from here, and that's into the playoff. And they're clearly pushing all of their chips in in an attempt to do that next season. But yeah, at this moment, I mean, when you look at the last 3 years for this program, they've won 28 games and 2 Access Bowls. As you know, they played Baylor in the Sugar Bowl a couple years ago, and now they're in the Peach Bowl this year against Penn State, and won 10 games for the second time in 3 years. They did that a couple years ago when they played Baylor, like I mentioned, and have a chance to get 11 wins for the first time in program history in the same season. And Kiffin's got it going. Nobody works the portal better than he does. I'm sure there's some that maybe work it as well, but nobody works it better than he does. And he's starting to recruit at the high school level better. And yeah, they've locked him up. I think he's happy. I think when he first got here, he had a certain degree of wanderlust, and I think he kind of wondered if the program could get to this place, and it has. And I think he's more content. I don't know that Lane's a particularly content person by nature, but I that's probably the wrong word. I think he's more optimistic that he can do big things here, and it helps that they're going to a 12-team playoff next season. And yeah, kind of everything is pointing in the right direction for them.
What is the latest on Walter Nolan possibly joining that massive class of transfers, especially the 2 they already have on the defensive line?
Yeah, it's a great question. I wish I could get it answered so that I could stop having to write about it and talk about it, because honest to God, I'm kind of ready for a break. But, I think they lead. I think if it were up to Walter, if it were up to his mom, it would be done. Ole Miss has put together a very significant NIL offer. I think it's significantly higher than any other offer that I know of. I know there were some rumblings last night about Georgia. I don't think that's as serious as some people were intimating that it might be. There's still some talk about Texas A&M, though when I talk to people who are sort of around it, they don't really buy that. It sounds like everybody would sort of prefer to kind of go in a new direction with Texas A&M making a change and all of those things. So at the end of the day, I mean, look, I think it's easy for fans, not you guys, but it's easy for fans to go, oh, Wednesday's signing day, he's got to go ahead and do this. I mean, he could wait till a month from now and start school and wherever that is and go through spring and be ready to go in the fall. And Walter Nolan doesn't need spring for what that's worth. I mean, he technically could wait even longer than that, but there was an expectation here that there would be resolution here pretty quick, and others think that he'll take another visit or two in January. The portal, the visit window opens up the 3rd through the 7th, I think, if you're a mid-year enrollee, and he is one, and he can still take other visits. He went to Oregon, he went to Ole Miss. There's talk that he could take another visit or two. But look, most of these decisions are NIL based, and I would have to think that if the numbers I've heard on Ole Miss are right, and I suspect they are, that will be a pretty tough offer to top.
Neal, I mean, looking at the transfer rankings right now, they've got, 3 of the top 20, 4 of the top 30. I mean, DeCamerion Richardson. You also had, Tyler Barron there, Princely Human-Milan, and Juice Wells. I mean, as this thing just continues to stack up and potentially get even bigger. But what has stood out to you as far as their acquisitions, and which one kind of, I guess, is the biggest one in the eyes of Ole Miss fans right now?
Yeah, I can't speak to what the fans think, but to me, it's pretty obvious that they went to Georgia. I guess they were 8-1, and highly ranked, highly anticipated game against the 2-time defending national champs. And the truth is that they got their ass kicked at the line of scrimmage, and they saw it. I mean, it was one of those deals where it's like that moment where you get up and you put your pants on and they don't fit, and you say, hey, did you put these in the dryer or what happened? No, man, you got fat and you got to lose weight. And that's it. They had that moment of reality on that day that, hey, we have hit this plateau on this tier of college football. And it's good, but it's not title contending good. You're playing a title contender and you're just getting your ass kicked at the line of scrimmage defensively. And what has stuck out to me is they went out and they got an SEC linebacker from Arkansas. They got SEC defensive linemen from Tennessee and Florida. They got DBs from Oklahoma and Tennessee and Indiana and Illinois. They went out and got Power 5, major conference, experienced veteran dudes with size that can match up better the next time they're in that situation. And the truth is they want and intend to be in that situation next year. Now, will they be? I don't know. But that's what they anticipate. And that's what they're planning on. And it's why they want Walter Nolan so bad. It's why that they have such a significant NIL offer on the table for him. Is they need that talented, elite defensive interior guy that can hold his own against a big, dominant offensive line like the one that Georgia had that mutilated them that night in Athens.
Neal, was this past season a wasted year for Spencer Sanders, and now he's done?
Yes. It was the craziest, dumbest, most idiotic thing I've ever seen. To this day, I don't understand it. I don't even care, and it's almost frustrating. It's like for him, I don't care. It doesn't do anything to me. I haven't lost a wink of sleep over it, but I think about it. I'm like, wait. Now, he got a good NIL deal. To this moment, I don't know whether Lane Kiffin, you got to go back, right? Because we do the hindsight thing, and it's so easy to go, well, Jackson Dart had a great year. Because he did. He had a great year. Jackson Dart didn't finish the 2022 season particularly well. And I think Lane Kiffin got in his feelings a little bit. And they went out and they got Spencer Sanders. They paid him a very nice NIL package. And Spencer got here in January. He wasn't healthy. He had the shoulder injury at Oklahoma State. And he really couldn't go through the spring. I think maybe that they thought Jackson Dart would take his ball and go home, and he didn't. And maybe they were just trying to motivate Jackson. I don't know. No one will talk about it, like, at all. And so, but Jackson said, no, it's my job. It's my team. And he proceeded to have a really strong season at Ole Miss. And Spencer stood on the sideline, and when the game ended, he was the first person off the field into the tunnel. And he didn't go to class, and which is no surprise to anyone. And he's not on the team anymore. And this was his last year. He could have gone to Auburn and been the starter. He could have. Mm-hmm. You can't convince me that he couldn't have gone to Mike Gundy and said, "Hey, can we hug this thing out?" There's no way that you can convince me he couldn't have done that. But he could have gone to so many places and been the quarterback. But maybe he just got such an NIL package and he knew the shoulder was hurt. He was like, I'm just going to take the money. I don't know. We had no media opportunity with Spencer Sanders after about the first week of August. So I haven't spoken to him at all since then. And this company out of, I can't remember where, they had done this NIL deal with him last year to do a show before Bedlam. And they couldn't do it, but they'd already paid him. And so they wanted him to fulfill the contract. And they called me and they wanted to do the show. And I kept saying, guys, previewing the Egg Bowl against Mississippi State. And I was like, guys, what do you want me to talk to him about? I'm not going to do some fluff show. If you want me to ask him what happened, why are you here? Do you regret being here? If you could do it over it, oh, we don't want that kind of show. I'm like, well, then I'm not your guy. What do you want me to talk to him about? We'll talk to him about the Egg Bowl, but he doesn't know anything about the Egg Bowl, and he's not going to play. And so it was just a bizarre deal. Here's a guy, as you well know, because you guys are in the Big 12. This is the offensive player of the year in the Big 12. This is the guy that threw for basically 10,000 yards. This guy did things in one of the top 3 leagues in the country. and he just sat on the bench. It was bizarre. I'll never really understand it. I mean, it wasn't like he had time to play with. Like you said, it was his last year, and he spent it doing that. And he couldn't have been happy. It had to have been miserable. And maybe one day he'll talk about it, but it's weird.
How do they feel? I mean, they also got Walker Howard in that same portal cycle. And to me, that would have also, if I'm Lane Kiffin, that probably serves as a little bit of a push to Jackson Dart. Like, look, if you're not good enough, then we're just going to go to the future now, which is Walker Howard. So, it just seems to be a waste all around. And do they still feel good about Walker Howard as the future of the team?
Yeah, I think so. Like Luke Altmaier, who finished that Sugar Bowl against Baylor, he transferred. He went to Illinois. And so they had to add a quarterback, and it made sense when they had the opportunity to add Walker Howard. And, nobody scratched their head at that. It was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. He's a guy for the future, and et cetera, et cetera. And then they bring Sanders in at the same time. You're like, I'm baffled now. And then they even added a kid that up to classification, Austin Simmons, who had been committed to Florida. He reclassified. He came in. Super young kid, a lot of potential. I mean, you understood that one too. I mean, you want to stack the room. It just Sanders didn't make sense. And the explanation was, look, it's our job to put as many good players in one room as possible. And yeah, I get that. But to pretend that the quarterback room is like the defensive line room or the linebacker room is kind of disingenuous, if you ask me. But look, I'm not making $9 million a year. And it worked out for Lane and for Ole Miss. And if the goal was to motivate Jackson Dart and piss him off and get him to play at a really high level, it worked.
Neal, when it comes to signing day tomorrow, a lot of these high school players, I mean, a lot of it can get sort of lost these days in the shuffle of the transfer portal and whatnot. But how do they feel about the class they're expecting to bring in with signing day starting tomorrow?
This is their best high school class that they've put together since they've been here. Lane got here in December of 19. And you all remember the silliness of the spring of 20. I hope I don't get you in trouble for saying that. I mean, I think in hindsight, we can all admit that was sort of ridiculous. But, paralyzed his recruiting for a year and a half. And, and then he had to throw together a class. This is his first class that he's built off, maybe that 21 season and an Access Bowl and some stability and the Auburn rumors and flirtation from last year's behind them. It's a really solid class. They were picky. They didn't take a bunch of people because they know they're going to jump in the portal. They're still working on a couple of different guys. That one's committed to LSU and one's sort of a head-to-head battle with Mississippi State that could sort of go either way. But they added some real quality defensive linemen. I think they've got 1 5-star and maybe 12 4-star prospects, which for their standards is a really strong class. But you're right. The crazy thing about it is there was a time not so long ago where there would be so much buzz about this recruiting class and signing day and all that stuff. And it's all about Walter Nolan and about what they're going to do in the next wave of the portal in January. And Ole Miss has built their program the last 2 years, especially this past year, through the portal. And it appears to be the mode that Lane thinks works the best and that I think Lane's most comfortable with. And I think the fans, for the most part, have pretty much followed suit. That's what they get super excited about is all the portal stuff.
On a scale of 1 to whatever number you want to use, how much was the hiring of Jeff Lebby at least noticed in Oxford?
I mean, pick a number, and I'll go really close to that number. Lane had, when Lane got here, Mike Leach got the Mississippi State job, and they were buddies, and they liked each other, and Lane never really tweeted about Mississippi State. He kind of left them alone. He lost to Mike in what ended up being Mike's last game, God rest his soul. But Lane never really paid a lot of attention to State. Jeff Lebby gets the job, and within a day, Lane's dog Juice is tweeting about Uncle Jeffrey. And I'm going to assume that wasn't the Labrador Retriever doing the tweeting. If it was, then we're completely off the rails. I got to think that was probably Lane. And, he notices him. I don't think they hate each other or anything like that, but they certainly view the world differently, and they view the job of being a head football coach differently. And they probably view the way they build programs differently. And I think Jeff felt like, and he's probably right, that he deserved more credit than he got for the way that Ole Miss got off to such a fast start in the Kiffin era. And, I don't think they hate each other, but I don't think they exchange Christmas cards either. So there's more social media animus directed towards Mississippi State now than ever before. And Lane just took one of their players out of the transfer portal. If you told me they take another one before it's all said and done, I'd believe it completely. They're recruiting a kid out of Starkville right now, Braylon Burnside, that most people assume will end up at Mississippi State, and Ole Miss is very much entered. It's probably a coin toss here the night before signing day. So there's a little there.
Neal McCready with us, Ole Miss, right here on 365 Sports.
Neal, we're talking about how the high school classes almost get overlooked now, and it's going to be, a change when we look at how bowls look in the future with this expanded playoff. If this were the 12-team playoff this year, Ole Miss would be right there at that back end, right? Vying for one of those 12 spots. Instead, they're in the Peach Bowl against Penn State. Just what's kind of the feel around, this upcoming game and expectations? Is there an excitement? Is there kind of that lull we've felt with some of these other bowl games? How would you describe it?
Yeah, it's interesting. If this were a playoff year, they would have been the 11th seed. They'd be playing, I think it was at Ohio State in the first round, which, I think we all would agree that the 12-team playoff is going to be a lot of fun. They got pretty juiced up for the Baylor game 2 years ago against in New Orleans. And I think that the way that they lost that game kind of put a bad taste in their mouth. And then last year, they were 8-1, and they finished the season with 3 straight losses, and they had no interest whatsoever in being in the Texas Bowl. Texas Tech did, and you could see it. Texas Tech beat the hell out of them, really, and Ole Miss didn't really care. This time around, I think it's somewhere in between. They're super excited to be in an Access Bowl. They're excited about playing Penn State, but I get the sense that a lot of their attention right now is more on the future. And I think they'll show up and play the game. Don't get me wrong. I think they want to win it. They want 11 wins badly and all of those things. But their attention is on the fact that this time next year it'll be a 12-team playoff, and if they can do what they did this year and probably do what they did in 2021, they'll make that playoff. And they're really focusing on building a roster that can be better poised to contend in 2024 than they did in 2023.
Hey, man, an exhibition against Penn State, a top 10 team in Atlanta's that's cool and everything, but going and playing the Buckeyes for a chance to advance in the playoff, that's really cool in my opinion. I know everybody's got their different feelings on the playoff and everything, but that just sounds so much nicer. Yeah.
I mean, that Saturday or however they do it, 2 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, or whatever they do when they play those on-campus games. I mean, those are going to be really cool. I mean, whether those games are in College Station or, Oxford or Columbus or Ann Arbor or Tuscaloosa or Norman or wherever, Waco, wherever the case may be. I mean, hell, that's going to be awesome for the sport. I mean, those environments at those respective campuses will be absolutely out of control. It'll be a first, right? And in college football, you don't get a lot of firsts anymore. I mean, they've been doing this a while. I mean, the first playoff game at Bryant-Denny, can you imagine?
Oh, man.
The first playoff game at Bryant-Denny when Michigan comes in there? I mean, that's wild. And then, they'll get the national quarterfinal games. I think it's really cool. I love the setup. I mean, I like bowl games fine. But, like, last weekend, there were bowl games on TV. I just couldn't make myself turn that stuff on. I mean, you're telling me that – I mean, look, I grew up in North Louisiana, so I feel like I can make fun of it. it's not a reward to go spend a week in Shreveport. It's not.
I grew up in East Texas, so I'm very familiar with Shreveport.
I used to live there.
Yeah.
Neal.
We've all been to the Independence Bowl at one point or another.
Yeah. I mean, I played high school football in that stadium. I mean, I don't know that kids walk in there and go, wow, man, we've arrived at the big time now. I mean, I just it's fine, but this is good for the sport. This is good. It'd be a lot more fun to see 11 seed Ole Miss go to Columbus and take a shot at, one of the two powers of the Big Ten to see what that looked like. It would be a lot more fun to watch, Georgia as a 5 seed go play a 12 or, a Tulane get a shot at in Athens. I mean, at least it would have some, like the NFL playoffs start in a couple of weeks. Even if your team's not in it, everybody watches the playoffs. We watch the NCAA tournament. We'll turn on the NCAA tournament and watch Creighton versus Utah State because it's a bracket. We like brackets. We like tournaments. That's just what we are. And the bowls are just these things. And all the players opt out. Who could blame them for opting out? I mean, I can't blame a kid for opting out of a meaningless game when his professional career is right around the corner, or he's got invited to the Senior Bowl, or people go, oh, he owes it to his teammates. I get that. You owe it to yourself and your family. No one's going to opt out of a playoff game. We're going to see teams playing at their most intense level. Maybe not their best level, maybe not their healthiest level, but we're going to see them give their most intense efforts, and that's going to be fun to watch. And most of the bowl games, Ole Miss, Penn State, and Atlanta, it might turn out to be a great game. But at the end of the day, when you're watching the fourth quarter of that game, no one's going to be on pins and needles going, man, there's a lot on the line here. There's nothing on the line there. Nothing really. Now, if it's Ole Miss, Ohio State in a first-round game and it's 20-17, 2.5 to go, and Ole Miss takes the ball at their own 35, trying to drive down and tie it or win it, everyone's hanging on their feet hanging at the edge of their seat because the winner's going to Texas next week, to a bowl game to play Texas next week in a national quarterfinal. There is a lot on the line. Which one's more exciting to you guys? I mean, I know what mine is.
I'm all for it. Like, make it 16. I don't care.
There was a time when there were not 40 bowl games or 42 where you could get to 15 or 17, and it wasn't 3 or 4 in a day until New Year's Day. It's gotten to the point now. I'm like you, Neal. There were games played, and I happened to turn the channel, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to them, but there's a bowl game. And it was a great one yesterday while we were on the air. We mentioned it a couple of times, but appreciate your time. Great stuff.
Well, I'll tell you guys, let me give you a fast anecdote. You'll appreciate this. I lost a bet last year, and I had to go to the Potato Bowl in Boise. And I had to go, and I couldn't wear a coat or a jacket. I had to go in a T-shirt and sit through the whole game. And it was Eastern Michigan and San Jose State. And I forgot something at my hotel, called an Uber back to my hotel to get it. And then I'm getting back in, and I told the guy, he goes, why are you going to the stadium? I said, going to the game. And he's like, what game? And I said, the bowl game. He goes, what bowl game? This is the guy in Boise. We're driving right by the stadium. They had no idea. I mean, they didn't even open the concession stand on the main grandstand for the famous Idaho Potato Bowl or whatever. I mean, you can't tell me that's super meaningful to the kids. That's the atmosphere they go to. It's just it's a made for ESPN event, which is perfectly fine. But call it what it is.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate your time. Neal McCready with us, covers Ole Miss for Rivals and also his own podcast and much more. We appreciate a lot of the insight from the